there's a lot of similarities between 2014 and 2024. But big difference is Jed York. He has changed a lot in the last 10 years. And not just that, I feel like he had more control and power over the organization 10 years ago. And now I think it's more collaborative effort with his parents. I can't prove it. But how do you feel Jed in particular, the Yorks as a family, might handle this transition or whatever you want to call this crossroads juncture in an era, in a regime? How might they handle this similarly or different to the way they handled Harbaugh 10 years ago?
I think, well, if people don't remember, they essentially chose Balky over Harbaugh, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think they made that mistake because I think they're not a football family. The previous owner was. He lived it. He breathed it. He was indoctrinated in it. He was part of that football culture. I don't think the Yorks have anything to do with football when they're outside of like coming into games or anything like that. They don't have a network of people, so they relied on their general manager, much like they're doing now with, their general manager right now and John Lynch. But I do feel like they saw what a bad hire and what down. They live in California, man. People are just not going to show up if the team sucks, and that's lost revenue. So I feel like they need to decide what is more important: being relevant, right, with a coach that has a name value. Because before they just thought that they could just turn it around. They found out after 3 or 5 years that it wasn't, and I think that's scar tissue. They're not going to fire Kyle immediately, and I think that's the biggest difference. I think Kyle has a little bit of a longer leash, and for people who don't think that Kyle is safe, they fired a bunch of coaches after 1 year. They fired Chip Kelly after 1 year. Before that, it was Tom Sula. They had 3 or 4 year contracts. They're still paying those coaches, right? Or just finishing up paying those coaches. They had a good stretch where they only had a coach for a year and then they were gone. And I don't think they want that kind of instability.
I disagree. Well, let's have a discussion right now.
Okay.
Because I think we found a good one.
Yes.
If Kyle misses the playoffs, I think they might do something. If he loses early in the playoffs, I think they should do something. If he misses the playoffs entirely the way Harbaugh did in 2014, I think they might do something. Now, with Harbaugh, they didn't fire him, right? They mutually agreed to part ways because it's a bad look to fire someone that's successful with that kind of a winning percentage, even if he hasn't won a Super Bowl. It would also be a bad look to fire Kyle Shanahan because he's been to the mountaintop, even though he hasn't really been there. So they could trade him. He could resign. They could do something behind closed doors. But if they feel they could get someone better, like Ben Johnson's available and they think he's better and this is the year to get him, and Kyle misses the playoffs,
so
I don't know if he's safe.
I'll give you a rebuttal. The person that's not safe is John.
Why?
Because they could do so people tend to do the exact opposite. What did Jed do? He fired Harbaugh, right?
And he kept the GM.
Right?
Yeah.
He may say, listen, Kyle, I love you, but you're no longer in charge of personnel. And this fun thing that you have with John, where John is like the guy, but you're really the puppeteer in the background. We're getting a real GM, and you're not, and you're just charge of the football decisions. That's what we're gonna do. And we're done.
Okay. I like your rebuttal very much. Now let me rebut your rebuttal because that was a great rebuttal. Kyle says, I quit. I'm not doing that. You need me more than I need you. All these teams would want me, and they would give me personnel power. I quit.
Would they, though? Would they? Think about it. Would they, though?
Am I wrong? Mike Shanahan had the personnel power for years in Denver, did nothing with it, got fired, went to Washington. Did he not get it again?
Before he got fired, they took away his
in Washington
duties. No, in Denver.
In Denver.
They took it away. It away. And then he got fired.
Okay.
Then he got fired.
Because he was formerly like the vice president of the organization.
He had everything. He had
everything.
Everything. He
was like Napoleon Bonaparte of Denver.
I'm not gonna lie. And when you grow up with that, he wants to right exactly.
And I think Kyle has that much power. It's just people don't realize it.
Correct. I don't think people realize like all these like weird draft picks. They're done because Kyle's like, I need another receiver.
and no one can veto me in this organization. No one.
No,
I
feel
mean,
like,
Jed could, but he hasn't.
don't you feel like the last 5 weeks have been Kyle trying to see if he can beat man-to-man coverage at the expense of winning? Like, to show, like, if he does go up against that he will be, but he doesn't have the personnel. So he's not even utilizing his, where was that screen to Cowing throughout the game that I saw Matthew Stafford do? Where was that?
Can I do some irresponsible speculation? What if he's actually showing the Yorks what life without Christian McCaffrey will look like for Brock Purdy before they give him a contract worth $60 million a year? It seems like the Yorks are dying to give Brock that contract. And I don't know how Kyle Shanahan feels about that. In fact, I always feel like Kyle's lower on his quarterbacks than I am. I think I thought higher of Jimmy Garoppolo than he did. So maybe this is Kyle's be like, well, I mean, Christian's going to come back. He's going to save our season. We'll be fine. But in the meantime, like, this is what it looks like. This is what it looks like.
Don't you
Pay him
feel
if you
like,
want.
don't you feel like, so the thing that I was very interested to see is that Brock at the Chiefs game always went to, I feel like what Kyle said, go here no matter what, even though we could see like Kittle wide open. And before, I feel like Brock would take those checkdowns. And I feel like in Kyle's mind, he is telling Brock, if you want to be the best, just go to your first read. It's going to be open. Throw it. We're going to be good. And I feel like when it's not there, the best play is him scrambling and going off script because he can and Jimmy couldn't. But I feel like he needs to be like, the Jimmy Gimmies need to be back. That needs to be the first thing. And then everything else comes after.
But if you can't win a game where they're like, look, if you can't be the kind of offense where they're like, if you're going to sell out to stop the run, we'll throw 55 times. We don't care. We'll win that way. If you don't feel that way about your quarterback, what are you paying $60 million a year for? If teams come into the game and their game plan is, we want to force your quarterback to beat us, and the Niners are like, we don't want to get into that game, what are you paying your quarterback for? It seems to me.
Outside of Mahomes, you can get outside of Mahomes. My rebuttal would be that would be every defense's. They would want to make you one-dimensional because you can intercept the ball when they're passing it, right? There's more things that can go wrong. So as a defense,
no, but what I'm saying is, like, if you're going to play the Packers and you're a defensive coordinator, are you thinking, man, I really want to make Jordan Love beat me? Like, or I'm not selling out to stop Josh Jacobs. I don't want Jordan Love. Jordan Love will beat me if I play single high and dare him to.
I would say Jordan Love is an interception machine. He's thrown a lot of boneheaded picks. I would say that's better than. I would say that's better, right? There, because here's the other thing, Grant. Outside of Mahomes, we don't have those transcended players. We don't have a Drew Brees. We don't have those players because they've retired, right? That
Peyton
will
Manning's
carve you
gone.
up. Peyton Manning's gone. Even like, Phillip Rivers, those quarterbacks that would just cut you up.
That's true.
Those quarterbacks don't exist anymore because of how they just don't. They just don't. There's one of one right now, and it's Mahomes. Really, if you think about it, because I live here in upstate New York, as a Bills fan, seen Bills fans, right?
He's not Manning. He does it in his own way.
He does it in his own way. He's not carving you up. He's doing it athletically. And here's the other thing: every Bill fan would say we rather have the running back run, right? We rather have him than Josh being Josh, because Josh being Josh means 60-yard touchdown or pick six.
Yeah, true.